Welcome to Joshua 2415 Outdoors.
Hey everybody, we're back again for our third episode, and tonight we're going to be doing something really special. I'm going to interview Mark, and I'm going to interview Mark on the aspect of him being a fairly new hunter. He hunted some in his younger age and when he was in high school, but now he's really getting serious into it, and we're going to find out what he thinks about things tonight. So, Mark, I'm really glad to have you here, and I'm really thankful that God has led you to be part of this ministry, and I'm excited to see what happens.
First and foremost, I feel like I have to thank God again for bringing this together, bringing this relationship together, and giving us the opportunity to be able to do this. I'm so grateful to be a part of this ministry. Thank you, and thank you.
Absolutely. All right, let's just go ahead and go with our first question. Mark, in our conversation since meeting, I know you hunted a little when you were much younger, in your teenage years. What got you interested at that time in hunting?
At that time, like you said, I was in high school. A lot of my buddies hunted, and it was just kind of the thing to do. I didn't have anyone in particular, my dad or anybody that really got me into it. It was the buddies I was hanging out with. That's what they did, and that's what I wanted to do because they were doing it. At that point in time in my life, that's all it was just to hang out with the buddies. And it became a lot of fun to me. And even then, I've never considered myself a trophy hunter per se. It was all about the pursuit and just being out there and being outdoors. Prior to hunting, I've always fished, and that's something that my dad did get me into, was fishing. And then get a little older, get in high school, hanging out with the right friends who hunted and did all that, really got me into it, and I wanted to start digging deeper into that. So I'd say early on that's what really got me into it, was just being able to hang out with the friends who were already doing it.
Yeah. Now, you were serious into trapping at that point too, weren't you?
I did trap, yes. That was the first thing that I started doing before I ever got into hunting, was trapping. And there's a lot of thrill in that.
Yeah.
With you never know what you're going to get in that trap.
Like a buck chocolate.
You never know what you're going to get in that trap. The goal was coyotes, because we were trapping on farms, trying to take care of the coyote problems. And you didn't know if he's going to come up on a possum, which was lame.
Right.
Or a raccoon. You know what you're going to get. In the rare instance, you got a fox, which at that time was, the pelts were pretty good price compared to the coyote.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty much the start for me, was just to hang out with friends. That's what they did. That's what I wanted to do.
All right. Well, going on kind of with that question, what is different at this point as you delve back into hunting, and in particular bow hunting?
That is very simple. Now I'm a father. I have 3 kids going on 4, expecting the 4th. Now it's more of, I want to provide for my family. I want to be able to attain the skill set to be able to go out, get the hunt done, process it all myself, get all that figured out, and be able to just put meat on the table. It's not about the trophy for me. Like I said, it's never really been that. It's more about the pursuit and just putting meat on the table.
Okay, and this next question, it's a little of that, but what do you as a young father, now this is not the meat on the table part, what do you as a young father hope comes out of the passion that you now have for hunting and the outdoors?
As a father, really just as a person, as a man, to be able to take the skills I have and be able to teach someone else that, whether it be my own kids or anyone for that matter. I want to be able to have that knowledge and ability to be able to pass that on to the next generation. I think there's a lot in hunting that really helps to shape who you are. Discipline, for one. Discipline is a big thing, because you gotta be stealthy. You gotta be quiet. You got to know what you're looking for. There's a lot to that I really want to get a good handle on and be able to pass that on to my kids, especially, and anyone else really who is looking for that same thing and has that passion. It's all about, for me now, it's all about just the passion of it. Being able to pursue that, being out in the outdoors and in creation, it's a blessing. And being able to pass that on to my kids, that's the goal.
Yeah. I tell you what I really look forward to for you and for me is with the young kids that you have, being able to watch and witness and listen to you as your kids, if they choose to get into hunting, as they take their first animals and the excitement that comes with that. And I know my oldest son, he was 7 when he killed his first deer, and my youngest son was 6 when he killed his first deer. Both of them were sitting in my laps on the ground when they killed their first deer. And just to experience that with your son, and now you're going to have a daughter as well, to experience that with a child that chooses to want to be part of that, it's unforgettable.
I like how you emphasize that, and that's something that that whole choosing thing.
Yes,
that's something I feel like is important to mention too. I'm not going to force them into it. I'm going to give them the opportunity, and if they take it, that's great, and I would love that. But if they don't, the point I want them to understand is I love them the same. They don't have to have the same passions I do. They don't have to want to hunt or anything like that, or go fishing for that matter, or be in the outdoors. They don't have to want to do those things, and I will still love them the same, and I want them to understand that. But even so, I do want to teach them at least how to do it. That right, if they do choose to venture into that, then they have the necessary knowledge and skills that they'll need.
You know, one big mistake, and this is kind of going off on chasing a rabbit here, but I feel like it's very important. A lot of fathers that I know, they hunt, they fish, they've got kids that aren't interested in that, so the fathers really don't have a whole lot to do with those kids. Instead of taking and finding something that they can enjoy together, whatever that might be, and doing it together so that child knows, I don't have to be involved in hunting and fishing to spend time with my dad. And if that means that you spend less time hunting and fishing, you only have a certain amount of time to bond with that child and a certain amount of time to influence that child. And if the influence you have on that child is hunting and fishing is more important to me than spending time with you, that is the wrong kind of influence to drop on that child.
100%.
So I love the fact that you spend time doing things with your kids that they enjoy now before they are big enough to make decisions on whether they want to hunt or not. And I know there's been several days that you have not went hunting because the kids wanted you to come home to play video games or read them a book or play in the snow or whatever that might be. And, that came first. You just put everything else aside and you went and you did what you needed to do. And that was a mistake that I made a lot as a young father. I can remember a lot of times a little boy crying at the door when I went hunting, and, you can't go back. But both of my boys were interested in hunting, and when they got big enough, they were right there with me all through school until they both went to the military. So we were together a lot up to that point. All right, let's see. The next question. From your first season now of bow hunting whitetail, what's the greatest lesson that you have learned?
From my first bow hunter?
Yeah.
Dang, I don't know. What is the greatest lesson I've learned? Probably, this is going to sound maybe cliche or silly. Probably patience. Patience, just because when you're hunting with a rifle or you're hunting with a shotgun, you can reach out and touch it. But in bow hunting, you have to wait for the right opportunity, the right shot. If if you want it to be ethical and you want it to be a good shot, which I do, you gotta be willing to wait for it to come in. You gotta have that patience. You gotta be able to discern, is it a good shot? Am I gonna hit right? Whatever. I had to pass one up. I had a good one come in. I had the opportunity. It gave me a window. I forgot my release. I was not comfortable making that shot with my fingers. So I passed it up. And it was within 20 yards at least. Had I had my release, it would have happened. But I had to pass it up and watch it walk. And I got some good footage of it walking away.
And what did you learn out of that hunt?
I would say just...
You've carried an extra release with you.
I did carry an extra release with me, but in that moment, I was just in awe of the animal.
Yeah.
I was in awe of just seeing that buck walk in and just letting him have to walk. Didn't bother me. It wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
I wasn't nervous. I wasn't shaky like you typically get when I just in awe of that animal. But yeah, I'd say the patience that it takes to be a bow hunter and the extra challenge it is, because you got to wait for them to get in close enough for you to take that shot. I'm not knocking people who like to rifle hunt or anything like that, but it's more of a challenge. It's easier to hit that animal at 100 yards or whatever. Now, granted, you do have to calculate still, but you have distance. And bow hunting, you got to bring that in a little closer before you can take that shot.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. The decisions you've made this year, from the things you've told me and the opportunities that you've had, you have made some very good ethical decisions. You've set up good. You've saw a deer. Just never really got to put an arrow down range, and that next year will change.
I'm looking forward to that. But if it doesn't, I'd say at first I wanted to say it was unsuccessful. And then the more I thought about it, it wasn't really an unsuccessful season, as I did learn quite a bit, especially with the bow hunting aspect. First of all, I learned archery. So
yeah.
That's new to me. Second, I've learned more to look for signs. What signs am I looking for? What areas do I need to be in? I've learned a lot more of that. I've been able really just to kind of study the animal more and not worry so much about taking a shot. So that's, to me, that gives me more knowledge and more of a better mindset going into next season. So yeah, I don't consider that unsuccessful at all.
Yeah, a lot of people rush into it, and if they don't kill a deer, a lot of times people, I know several guys that have quit because they didn't kill a deer the first year or the second year. And instead of enjoying the experience of being out there and trying to make yourself each and every trip a better hunter, to better have an opportunity to put yourself in that window to have a shot at an animal.
It's funny. An analogy just occurred to me when thinking about that. It's like studying the Bible. When you open that Bible and you start reading through Scripture, you're probably not going to understand it right off the bat. But you got to keep at it. You got to keep, you got to keep going into it, letting it marinate,
Correct.
Thinking on it, all that good stuff before you ever have the slightest possibility of understanding what Scripture means.
Yeah,
much like deer hunting. When you go in there and you have what some would consider a bad season or whatever, that's just part of the study. You got to go study. You got to learn. You got to let it marinate. Figure out what mistakes did I make? How could I improve and get better? And so I don't consider it unsuccessful at all. In terms of putting meat on the table, it was unsuccessful. But in terms of becoming a better hunter, still being relatively new, I think I've succeeded quite a bit in learning the different processes. So
yeah, I agree 100%. All right, the last question that I have for you, and then we can talk about whatever you want to, if you want. How do you best describe the connection that you feel to God when you are out in the woods or on the water?
Oh gosh, that's difficult, because I don't know if you can describe the feeling, to be honest. It's tough to describe the feeling. I know before I got into hunting and just being a fisherman, and because I love to bass fish. I don't care much for any other fishing but bass fishing. I love the fast-pacedness of bass fishing. I love that I could walk a bank hit a spot, throw it in, throw a lure in, reel it in. Okay, nothing, move on, keep working it. I love bass fishing. Now I love hunting. I love getting into hunting. The feeling is, it's just so hard to describe. There's such a peace about being in the outdoors. Maybe not everyone feels that. I feel bad for people who don't, because it's great. It's such a euphoria, I guess, would be a good way to describe it. Especially, and there's two different feelings when I'm bass fishing or when I'm out in the woods hunting. Bass fishing, like I said, is more fast paced. I get that sense of being in the outdoors, but not quite the peace I get when you're just sitting there in a tree stand or at the trunk of a tree, or wherever you are out in the woods or at the edge of a field, wherever you may be. There's nothing quite like that peace of silence, mostly, and just taking in the animal sounds, what's going on around you in that environment, just waiting and watching and thinking. I've had some of my deepest thoughts just sitting there in the woods waiting on an animal.
Yeah.
It's time that I've gotten to pray more. It's just, I don't know. It's just hard to explain that feeling completely. The best I can say is it's euphoric. It's euphoric. There's a certain euphoric aspect to it. It's like a high that you can't get from any drug.
That's awesome. Well, after I turn you into a catfisherman this year,
I've been catfishing. I just prefer bass.
I'm going to turn you into a catfisherman to where you are sitting on a riverbank and you are experiencing the same feelings on that riverbank that you are in the woods.
Well, yeah. I'm sure you could catfish it because there's still that waiting.
There's just
boring
and waiting. There's nothing boring about it. Waiting on a 30-pound blue cat to hit a hook.
No problem. Chicken livers. You put your chicken liver on there. You toss that sucker out there. You wait for an hour. Nothing.
Well, you're depressing. I'm not, you know.
I'll tell you what. I'll bring a bait caster and some lures, some soft plastics, and I'll bass fish while I'm waiting on that catfish.
That'll work. You'll just have to do it down the river and waiting for you're not bothering me, because I'm sitting there basking in God's glory of all of His creation around me.
I'm gonna bask in that lunker He's gonna put on the end of that hook.
Well, you know, the main thing is, as we go out into the woods and on the water, wherever that may be, we are appreciative of what God has given us and the opportunities to be there and the opportunity to be in His creation and to see these things. And I think if people, even people that don't hunt and fish, if you would just go outside, especially at night on a clear day, or on a clear night, and just stop and look up and lose yourself in the stars. Lose yourself in what God has created. Or go out into the woods and just stare off into the woods and look at the trees and look at the textures and the colors. And, you know, everybody thinks a tree is just a gray tree, but you go out there and you look, and all these different shades and colors of grays and browns and greens, and God made all of these things different, but all those trees serve the same purpose. You know, I think it's a picture of people. Everybody looks different, but we were all designed for the same purpose of glorifying God.
Yeah.
And I think you can see that in anything you go look at, if you will go look at it with an open mind, wanting to see what God has to share with you there.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing way to put it, and so true. And that tree represents life.
That tree represents life.
That tree is alive out there.
I want to tell a quick story. Right?
Yeah, go ahead. By all means.
Years ago, I was coming back from catfishing, you know, right where God wanted me to be, and on a riverbank.
Catfishing.
And dragging a stringer full of catfish back up the bank. And I passed a little old spot that was full of maple trees, a foot and a half high. And I pulled 3 of those maple trees up, making sure that I got the roots along with them. And I just had it in my mind that God laid on me to do something with those trees. And I went home and went out into my front yard, and I planted those 3 trees together in the same hole, and I braided those 3 trees together. And when I braided them together, I prayed and I told God that this was representing Jesus Christ and me and my wife, because I would keep him in the middle of our relationship forever. I came over to work that next week and I told people what I did, and some people laughed at me. Most people told me that those trees would, as they grow, choke each other out and it would never work. Those trees were each as big around as a pencil when I planted them. I measured those trees about a month ago before I went to preach a message about the unity of a husband and wife in Jesus. Now, that was over 20 years ago that I planted those trees. Those trees are still growing, but they went from the size of 3 pencils to one solid tree that you can see the braid still growing from where they grew together, and they were 96 or 97 inches around the base of that tree. That is what happens if we will put Jesus in the middle of anything we do. It will grow a root system that cannot be uprooted and will not wilter.
That's the first time you told me that. That's such an incredible story.
I love that story.
And I want to do that at some point. I need to do that. I like that.
Every day I look out front to look at that tree and know that Jesus is the center of my family.
And that is what Joshua 24:15 is all about.
It is.
As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
That's right. Well, guys, that's going to pretty much wrap us up for today. We've got 3 in the books now, and we'll be trying to do them once a week now after this. Don't exactly know what our topic will be next week, but we're going to have fun with whatever it is.
Yeah, now we got time to figure it out.
Yes, we've got time to think about it. And we appreciate you. We love you. And we pray that God blesses you and your household
in many ways. And we hope that you enjoy this content. We hope that you are getting something out of it. As we get more comfortable with it, you'll probably see our shenanigans show up a lot in this. But also, if you would, we'd appreciate it if you check out the YouTube channel as well. It's just Joshua 24:15 Outdoors, where we are posting videos there as well. We're going to be posting our hunting videos, which we got a lot that we're looking to do, a lot of content coming there. We're also going to be posting messages. So it's not just going to be, the focus is not just going to be on hunting. We want to share our faith as well. That's a very important thing to us, and we want to spread the word of Jesus Christ any way we can, and that's what we do in the outdoors.
Yes.
So thank you again for joining us for episode 3. We hope to catch you in episode 4.
Yes.
God bless you.
God bless.
Also, we hope that you all would share this podcast and share our YouTube channel. If you don't mind, we would greatly appreciate that. Again, God bless you. We hope you have a good week and a good rest of today. Thank you very much. See you in the next one.